Only 2 meetings.
I know,
Yeah.
heavy schedule.
We are live. Okay. Great, thank you, committee. This is your first meeting of the year, so as a staff representative, I'll call the meeting to order, and their first order of business is to appoint a chair. So I'm going to open nominations for the position of chair for the ensuing year.
I move Councillor Luna for chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, good. So is there any further nominations? Okay, we'll close nominations. So we've moved by member Winter, seconded by member Zensner, that Councillor Luna be appointed as the chair of the Community Policing Advisory Committee effective February 18th through to November 14th of 2026. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I'll turn the meeting over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kittner. So I have a motion on the floor that, chair. Does anybody want to put somebody's name forward for vice chair? Mr. Winter?
I move member Zensner.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Jackie. You accept the
I
nomination?
accept that, yes,
All
thank
in
you,
favor?
thank you.
Any declarations of pecuniary interest?
None whatsoever.
No.
And then approval of the agenda. Are there any errors in the things or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, the motion is that the February 18th, 2026 Community Policing Advisory Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented. You can move her in second.
I'll move that.
Jackie, seconded by Rob, all in favor? And acceptance of the minutes of November 12th, 2025. Any problems with those minutes? Errors, omissions? Seeing none?
I only have a question, on the Stratford Police Board Liaison Report. I guess you didn't move it and second it. There's no names there.
Yeah, it was probably something that was just missed. So sometimes when those are missed, Jenna, as a secretary, will just note that it was received by the committee, but
Okay, that's fine. Great.
The motion is that the November 12th, 2025 committee meeting minutes be approved by the committee. Moved by Rob, seconded by Jackie, all in favor? And correspondence, there's a letter from the Ministry of the Solicitor General regarding police budgets. Any comments?
I'll just speak to it just very briefly. So, as a committee may be aware, last year the province expanded strong mayor powers to a number of municipalities. St. Mary's is one of those. So it's one of those things where the power was given and the legislative change was provided. And now we're slowly going through different circumstances and learning about what the scope and breadth of a strong mayor's powers really are. So we see this correspondence come through on a pretty frequent basis as it relates to budgets, especially because the budget process is especially confusing. There's not a lot of good direction. So what I suspect is likely happened is a strong mayor somewhere has probably thought their powers extended to try and set a policing budget. And this letter just clarifies that the strong mayor doesn't have that power, and that the power rests with council to either accept or refer back a police services board's estimates for the year. And again, provides that really specific clarity that, councils only have the ability, much like the library board, to approve the lump sum budget and not to go in and provide a line by line review. So I'm not sure if the chief has anything further because he's far more involved in the budget process at the police services board level, but.
Yeah, thank you, Brent. And yeah, you're quite right. The intention of this memo, I believe, is to ensure that councils don't overstep their mandates when it comes to police service budgets, police service board budgets, because that's who the budget is. That's who approves it. That's who has the responsibility to do a line by line review. And councils only have the ability to kick it back. Either accept it or reject it, and by rejecting it, they kick it back to the board to have further review. We've seen in some municipalities where that causes conflict, councils, put the, original submission, budget submission back to a board for review, and a board says, no, we've sharpened our pencils as far as we can go. Any further cuts would, fundamentally impact on service delivery. So, we're not willing to do that, and there are judicial mechanisms in place to deal with those conflicts between the board and council. We've been lucky that we have been able to, put forward, budgets that have been acceptable to the, all of the councils that we have, responsibilities to, report to. Now this memo does specifically say boards. We're in a unique situation here with CPACs still existing. The legislation doesn't really, reflect the legislative authority of a CPAC, but we have, had conversations with our ministry representatives over the past, 3 or 4 years since the CSPA came into effect. And, they basically say if it's working for us, then we can continue status quo. And I think it is working for us. So I don't think that we need to have any specific, ministerial oversight or, input into the model that we have running here in, Stratford, St. Mary's and Perth South.
When you say there's judicial mechanisms to get the health budget approved, is it like the health unit, like the health unit board says, this is our budget, the municipalities have to accept that budget, is my understanding, is it the same?
Yeah,
rigidness there?
the municipality doesn't have to, I don't know about the healthcare boards. In our situation, if the municipality does not accept the recommended budget of the board, then there are dispute mechanisms that would take it to, I believe, district court for that dispute mechanism to work its way through the mediation or arbitration system. I don't know of any recently that have gone that route. I know there's been a couple of highly contentious budgets that have been put forward, and councils have had issues with it. I don't think they've ever gone to judicial review. But I don't know that for a fact. There's far too many of them out there.
Any other comments about the correspondence? Being that the recommendation is that the correspondence from the Ministry of Solicitor General regarding police budgets under strong mayor powers be received. And we'll move in a second for that. Moved by Tony, seconded by Jackie, all in favor? Thank you. And the monthly police report, Chief Stevens.
Monthly police report. Okay, so I think we've got this.
Crime Stoppers.
Crime Stoppers first?
Yeah.
Okay, you've got the Crime Stoppers report for Huron and Perth counties before you goes to the year end. So we've got the December report, far right column of the first page. There were 6 tips received, 2 that required follow-up. The total tips on the second page, the total tips year to date was 139 with 117 follow-ups. That resulted in 9 arrests, 1 case cleared as a result of a Crime Stoppers tip, and 1 reward approved and paid. And total weapons covered over the course of the year was 4, $3,200 in property recovered, $1,500 in cash, and $1,000 in drug seized, for a total recovery of $5,700 for the year. And that is the Crime Stoppers report. I will say that the recent abduction, I guess, in the States of Nancy Guthrie has brought the Crime Stoppers process back into the foreground. The news media. So I think that we will see more activity around Crime Stoppers since there has been such international media attention to this abduction, and now the engagement of Crime Stoppers. And the what I saw on the news last night was individuals wanting to contribute money to up the rewards through Crime Stoppers to get more tips coming forward that could potentially solve this. So it'll be interesting to see what that does in the long run with respect to Crime Stoppers activity.
Any questions for Chief Blair? Crime Stoppers report? The recommendation is that the monthly police. Okay, book the service, we do the stats. We're gonna do that.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. You've got the December and January stats in front of you. So for December, you'll see that our calls for service were at 165, which is up over last December, a little bit down from the month previous. And when you look at the year-to-date numbers on the far right, you'll see that we were down about 300 calls for service from 2024. E-tickets for the current month, there were 9 laid, 8 warnings, and 2 Part 3 summonses laid, for a total of 37 charges in total overall. 7 false alarms, 2 mental health report related incidents, 5 domestics. 1 of those resulted in a domestic charge. And on page 2, under violent crime, you'll see that there were a bunch of zeros for the current month, which is good. So no assault, robbery, sex offenses, or homicides or attempts. And property crime, we had 1 auto theft, no break and enters, 5 frauds, 1 mischief, and 1 theft under. And then on the drug and alcohol offenses, there was 1 drug offense, 1 impaired by alcohol, and no impaired by drugs. And then on page 3, the motor vehicle collision reports, there were 8 in total, 1 personal injury, 7 property damage only, for that total of 8. So no fatals, no hit and runs. And our top 5 e-tickets issued, 8 speeding top the list with 8, then careless driving with 5. No, or driver failed to surrender is number 3 with 2 charges laid for the month. And down at the bottom, you'll see that there were 5 ride programs in December. 370 vehicles stopped and no charges laid and no vehicle pursuits. On the next page, you'll see all of our member development and training. So in the left-hand column, you'll see the number of officers attending training and what the training was for. I think our basic constable training program, the first line there where it says 4 attended. 4 is the largest number of recruits that I believe Stratford has ever put through OPC at one time. So that's a good news story when so many police services are struggling to get applicants. We really got 4 top candidates, all local people, 1 from St. Mary's, and we're very happy with them. They've completed their basic constable training program now, and they're now back and on the street going through their probationary training program with a coach officer. So and all is going well with those 4. So we're very happy with the level of interest we had locally and the competency of those applicants.
Through the chair, does that mean that you're up to a full complement now?
Well,
Close to it?
yes, we have always been at full complement. So what we've been doing is adding funded positions along the way. And those are the ones that are currently vacant that we're filling, but our complement has always been full. Our problem has been absenteeism. So when we have a complement, we have a complement now, a funded complement of 75 officers. 4 of those are net new for 2026. So those are the 4 that we're filling now. The prior to 2026, we had a couple of vacancies as a result of people leaving. And those are the ones that we were filling with those 4 that were hired to go through the basic constable training program. Our problem is that when we have long-term absences, we have no capacity to backfill. You know, you look at teaching or nursing and they have part-time programs. where they can pull people on a casual basis to come in and fill those gaps. We don't have that in policing. We have a part-time policing program, but quite frankly, we've only had one person in that program. So it has very limited value to us. And we have no cadre of people that we can pull on because the educational systems and training systems are totally different than nursing or teaching. And so that is creates a capacity issue for us. And the only way that we can maintain our minimum complement is through pulling people in on overtime. And that is a very expensive way to do business. So we're much better off to increase our staffing numbers to cover off those absences than we are to use overtime to be able to do it. And of course, overtime just causes more stress on officers and increases your potential for long-term absences, and we get on this merry-go-round, right? So
I noticed that on Facebook, in March, you're having an evening for people who are interested in becoming police constables.
yes, so we've really, and this, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police has really been driving the recruitment piece because policing has taken some media hits over the past couple of years, and as a result, people interested in becoming police officers has diminished. So the OACP has really been trying to raise the profile of the policing profession across the province to get more people interested in applying for policing. The bottom line is you can't hire people if they don't apply. So we have to be able to become attractive to those people who are interested in policing as a professional career and get them to apply again. And so there's been a lot of media attention and recruitment drives that have been going on at all levels of organizations. And this is our first attempt at getting people interested in applying to the Stratford Police Service. I will say that we had a very strong response to our last advertisement for vacancies, which is positive. I think maybe we've turned a corner, but we don't want to take our foot off the gas here. We want to keep our recruitment drive. So not only are we doing these kind of local drives, but we're also going out to the community college and universities and getting people who are in police related courses, whether that's police foundations or criminology, psychology, social work, even programs in the university and college levels. Were we on to January? Is that where we're at?
You were just finished up the
You're just
training.
finishing up training.
Okay. That's this one. So yes, you'll see all of our training there. You'll see that we had a couple of, we had a commendation for Fraser Anderson that was submitted by his supervisor, Rob McMillan. And that was as a result of his response to an off-duty personal injury crash where he stopped and assisted. And then we've got more recruitment, internal recruitment activity. And then the police checks for St. Mary's with looks like $200 collected this month in police checks. Then the community resource report is below 6 or 8 community contacts, 2 events or presentations, 1 self-initiated occurrence, and 3 other types of community contacts. And that's it. Well,
Yeah, it's a good question through the chair. So yeah, but under special constable, looks like you did have quite a few applicants.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we did. We had, as part of our budget request, we had 4 new special constables that are funded through a grant. Unfortunately, that grant is only for 1 year. So we've hired all these special constables on 1-year contracts. But I'm really hoping that the government will see fit to continue the grants, at which point we will reapply for funding and hopefully we'll be able to keep those new hires beyond the 1 year.
Hope so.
Yeah, because we have a lot of, the legislation has changed the responsibilities that can be assigned to special constables. And if you've been in some of the bigger cities, Toronto is a great example. You go into downtown Toronto And all of the special constables are out doing traffic control and scene security and everything, right? So there's a lot more, sort of core policing responsibilities that can now be put on special constables, which is a good news story. We simply cannot continue on the path that we're on because policing is very expensive, as you all know. And we have to find ways to take some of the lower priority responsibilities off of frontline officers and free them up to go to the more serious calls that they are trained and equipped to be able to handle. So on to January of 2026 numbers. You'll see that our calls for service are at 183 for the month, which is up from December of 2025 and also up significantly from the same month of January in 2025. E-tickets were 19, 10 warnings, 8 Part 3 summonses for a total of 51 charges in total laid in St. Mary's. We had 1 false alarm, 9 mental health related reports, which is up significantly from last month. And 2 domestics, 1 that resulted in a domestic violence charge. Over on the next page, violent crime, again, all zeros, which is a good news story. 1 auto theft in January, 4 frauds, and 3 theft unders, and no drug offenses impaired by drug or impaired by alcohol charges laid. Motor vehicle collisions, there were 13 in the month of January, probably weather related. 1 of those was a personal injury and 10 of them were property damage only, and 2 were hit and runs, usually parking lot related, and there were no fatals. 21 tickets, e-tickets laid. 9 of those were speeding, 8 no currently validated permit, 3 careless driving, and 1 driver failed to surrender license. And down at the bottom of the page, there were 2 ride programs in January with 100 vehicles stopped and no charges laid. Member development, you'll see that again, we have, after the 4 graduated, we have 1 at the basic constable training program now at OPC. And then you'll see a number of other training courses that our officers are on, and where you see 13 on the left-hand side, that's our in-service training. And that's where every officer has to go through mandatory training every year. And we do that is starting in late January and going through until early April. And then we have a commendation of our recruit, who is Andrew McGuire, that's at OPC, and he was providing some additional support to one of his classmates, and he was recognized for the time and effort that he was putting in there. And recruitment, all our internal recruitment is there. Looks like there's a number that are still under final review and a couple that have been hired, a couple of special constables that have been finalized. And our ERU is our emergency response unit. Our applications are coming in. Criminal record checks, $1,225 coming to the municipality as a result of those activities. And then our community contacts, there were 24 in the month for our community response unit. 1 traffic initiative, 4 meetings, and 8 other that took place in the town of St. Mary's.
I asked why there were so many community contacts compared to other months. Was it an introduction thing?
I think Rochelle might be able to.
I've just been dropping into places and getting my face open.
Which is exactly what we need.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Chief, you said the money collected from police checks comes back to the municipality.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that is revenue that goes directly back to the municipal.
I always thought volunteer checks were free, but I think there's a charge for them.
Yes, so the volunteer checks have always been at the discretion of the police service. So some police services, most notably the OPP, does volunteer checks for free. Because we contracted out our criminal record checks, there is a fee for us to do that. So this is basically just a recouping of the cost to us to send those out to have them done electronically.
I will add though, if you are a volunteer in St. Mary's, you can come back, you can come in, bring your receipt, you can be reimbursed.
Oh, I didn't know
I'm glad to see that the domestics last month were down a bit, but I still am concerned, and Councillor Luna is always concerned too about the domestics, and I believe I saw a blurb that council has declared it an epidemic.
That's correct. So yes, through the chair, last week, council received a delegation from representatives from the Optimism Place, just providing some education to council on intimate partner violence and with a request to declare an epidemic. Council has, and really the call to action that they're asking for us is to provide education. So we will, we've supported the Optimism Place's Not Now campaign this year, and we will continue to do that in the future. And then they provided us links for training we should provide internally to our staff. So we'll start rolling that out to our staff over the next few months, just not on a mandatory basis. What we'd like to do with our staff is just say, here's some training if you'd like to get yourself educated. Please feel free to take some time during the work hours and learn about this topic. So.
And the other thing is the mental health ones, the situation that we had out in British Columbia, showing that the police really are not equipped to deal with mental health issues.
Yeah, I don't know all the specifics about the shooting out in BC, but your comments are absolutely accurate. We don't have all the education background and experience that others have in the community. And we have to really focus on referrals in those situations so that we do engage those other organizations that have that expertise, whether that is MCERT or social services or the healthcare system. We really have to engage those in those processes. We've been doing a lot of work internally to support mental health, both internally and within the community. We've got the MCERT program. We've got our community wellness officer. We've got our support dog, facility dog now in place. And so there are responsibilities for those parts of our organization internally, but there's also a big responsibility for them externally, because that's where our communities need help as well. So we're really trying, and St. Mary's has been very aggressive at funding their community support worker. What do you call it?
Community outreach worker.
Community outreach worker to support those in St. Mary's that are struggling with mental health issues or addiction issues. So it is, it's not an issue that's going away. And I think we're all doing the best we can to be able to prioritize it in our communities and within our organizations. But I look at larger organizations, and that is the trend line that I'm looking at. And I think we are going to continue to have more than our fair share of issues related to addiction and mental health and homelessness in our communities. I wish I had an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I was just wondering, Dusty is doing really well as track. People are
Yes.
really excited about him. And people that are normally a little bit, let's say, wary of the police
Yep.
seem to be, coming up and petting the dog and talking to the police officer. So I wondered if there was a chance for Dusty to visit St. Mary's.
Absolutely.
this year for a few
Yes.
times. Has she?
Yeah, she has.
Great,
I
okay.
thought she'd be here at this meeting today.
I thought, I gotta tell you, if I had had more notice, I would have arranged that. Because I think it would be good for Dusty and Rachel to come here. Now, so just so you know, we have 4 handlers trained for Dusty, right? So it's not just one person with Dusty. So Rachel is the primary, and then we have 3 others that are secondary handlers. So Dusty likes to work. Dusty likes to be in the office. Dusty likes to be around people. Dusty likes to be out in the community. So, you know, we're trying to get Dusty out as much as possible. And Dusty and Rachel have been around to meet all the organizations that, you know, CAS, social services, you know, everybody that could possibly have a need for a dog to support their, clients. So Dusty has been really busy getting out there, and we have our first court trial coming up in May where Dusty will be supporting a victim during testimony. And so those are all good news stories. And yeah, it's amazing how people that would ordinarily not even come close to a uniformed police officer are coming up because they want to pet the dog, and it's that icebreaker, right? That allows for that interaction to happen and causes those barriers and walls to drop a little bit. And it's baby steps, right? And it's not a one size fits all. Some people don't care for dogs. I get it, you know, so they're not going to approach a support dog, but others, you know, most people I think will support or approach and open that door. So we have to figure out what is, you know, what works with each individual. And we have to just keep trying things new to see that we can do the best that we can with the resources that we have available to us to hopefully put a dent in some of these issues that we have going on. Because the bottom line is, you know, there's nothing that allows us to mandate support for anybody. We can't do that. The best we can do is take somebody to a hospital, or conversely charge them with an offense and get them into the judicial system where the judges have some power to do some things. Neither of those are really conducive to having repeat customers come forward, you know, repeat clients, because once they know that what's going to happen to them, they are a little bit wary of interacting with the police again, and they don't necessarily have the capacity when they are episodic to make good decisions for their own safety. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to provide the support that we can, and hopefully build those relationships so that people will have a little bit of trust in us, that we're there to help. We're not there to incarcerate. So it's tough. Dusty? Yeah. So we have, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there are little mini Dusties,
Oh, no.
mini stuffed Dusties that are available, and our officers have them in the cruisers. So we are doing some fundraising. Yeah, so it was the Optimist Club that funded the original run of stuffed Dusties. And so now there is an ability to buy them so that we can continue to replenish. And so our officers are carrying them, and when they are at an occurrence where there is some trauma experienced by a young person, that there is an ability to, if Dusty's not available, stuffed Dusty is the next best thing to provide them a little bit of comfort. So I was gonna bring the stuffed Dusty that we have, but I should have. Yeah, that's right.
Any further comments about the chief's reports? So the recommended motion is that the monthly police statistics and Crime Stoppers reports be received. Moved by Rob, seconded by Jackie, all in favor. Good. Upcoming meetings, May 20th at 9 AM, and the final meeting
Yeah, so again, I can just happy to provide the committee just a bit of an update on our meetings. So as you are aware, I think it was last year, the year before, we switched to quarterly meetings for CPAC. And then we have our summer break. For this coming year, for all of our advisory committees, we've switched them over to quarterly meetings. And the meeting schedule we presented to council in November acknowledged the fact that we have the election this year. So most committees would meet quarterly and then they have summer break. And we didn't think it made much sense for committees, especially advisory committees, to come back in September or October and meet with the election being in October. I think it's October 26th. Because it's, there's a chance we could be in a lame duck council at that point in time anyway. So for us as a municipality in an election year, our proactive and our strategic work typically slows down in around summertime, if not September, because we don't want to, it's out of respect and deference for a new council coming in. We don't want to advance a bunch of new initiatives that may be changed by the new council. So we'll still continue to look internally for proactive work to do. But the strategic work that committees have been charged with typically stops at that point. So May 20th will be your last meeting. What you'll have at that meeting, you can start thinking about is Jenna as the clerk will come forward and she's been asked by council to complete a governance review. So again, something we do once a term, usually in leading up to the election. And so she'll come forward and just once again remind the committee of what your mandate has been, how often you've met. Some of the achievements you've provided, and then just ask you for some feedback on how you felt this committee worked, any areas for improvement you think there could be. And then again, probably a very large question of, do you think this committee is still relevant to hold for a new council, or do you think there's other ways to report policing in or represent the community? We'll be asking all of our committees those same questions so that when we go to council in around August, we can say, this is what all of your committees have said about our current advisory committee system, and here's some recommended changes. And really what council does is they pass a number of recommendations that they hand off to a new council. However, in the strong mayor context, they're actually will be handing those off to the new mayor, because in the strong mayor system, it is up to the newly seated mayor to make the decisions of what committees they wish to strike, and they have the right to directly appoint members if they wish. So it's a bit of a change, and if our new mayor decides to just try and if our new mayor decides to exercise strong mayor powers, then they'll have that right. Many mayors have delegated that back to council. So if they delegate it back to council, we then present that report to council and then advertise for committees. Advertising for committees will actually be later this year because we have to wait and to find out whether or not a strong mayor will allow us to strike committees and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting year.
Yeah.
When you report to South Perth, do you report to the council or to
CPAC,
straight to
CPAC.
a CPAC?
Yeah,
Okay.
same as this, same
All right.
type of configuration.
These meetings are interesting, but I don't know that we do anything except take information back to council maybe. But I'm wondering how close we might be to getting an actual member on the police services board in Stratford. Is that gonna happen at any time, or?
Well, we have had discussions with the ministry about what the one board, one police service model that the OPP has gone to would look like in the context of Stratford with St. Mary's and Perth South. And that is something that could happen. In the OPP model, they used to have multiple municipalities under one detachment. And each of those municipalities would have either a police service board or a CPAC that had that legislative governance of the policing within their communities. With the change in legislation, there's now the option of going to a one board model. So if you are an OPP detachment that covers off 5 or 6 or 7 municipalities in some cases, then they can create a one board that has representation from all of the municipalities. Depending on what that looks like, they have limits to the numbers of board members you can have as per population. So most are 5-member boards. If you have more than 5 municipalities, then what they have, some municipalities have agreed to is a rotational seat on the board. So you may not have your municipality represented. That wouldn't be a problem here. But if we were going to, if the Stratford Police Service Board was looking to simply add a representative for St. Mary's and a representative for Perth South, they'd have to have ministerial approval to go up to a 7-member board, which population wise may not be approved. So we have to look at what we can do under the legislation and what would allow for the appropriate amount of input from the communities into a board model.
So is that being worked on or?
It's available. So the discussions that I've had with our ministry representative has been, if we wanted to go to one board, what would that look like? And is it mandated that we do that? And basically what I've been told is while the ability is there to do that, you don't have to. So if this current model is working for everybody, then that's fine. Then you can just keep it status quo. If you want to go with one board, then that would be a decision that all the collective municipalities would have to come to. And then you'd have to figure out what the configuration of that board would look like, what its membership would look like. Because you still have to have 2 provincial representatives on the board.
Included in the 5?
Yes, so we have 2 provincial representatives, 1 community representative, and 2 municipal council representatives on the Stratford Police Service Board now. And that is generally what is here, right? The representation, although no provincial appointees, there are 2 municipal council and 3 community members, yeah, which I believe is the same as First South setup. And I think, is that covered off in the contract? What the composition of the?
No, the composition is our determination based on our
Okay.
terms of reference. That the contract just says that we will have a CPAC and that we will look after appointing the members, so.
Yeah,
I just think it'd be more, better represented from St. Mary's to be on the actual board rather than a committee like this. I don't know, this committee, we don't really do anything, right, except we see reports and report them back to council and.
yeah, so through the chair, the purpose of a committee like this is for the 5 of you to be the liaison with the community between the police, right? So if there are issues that are going on out in the community that people don't necessarily want to come to the police with, but want brought to the table, they can bring it to you, you guys can bring it to the table, and we can respond.
People probably don't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, they know, but they don't use us. I think they will call council before they'll call
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, or social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of, like, truth be told, that's been one of my internal questions that if
Yes.
council was asking me is, is CPAC achieving their mandate and their vision? Like the original vision, especially when we transitioned, right? Because when we transitioned from OPP to Stratford Police, we had high hopes that things would change and we'd see that more personal level of policing that we'd hoped for, but we weren't sure. And so really the vision for CPAC was to be, eyes and ears that council may not always have, because, counselors are involved in certain social circles, certain clubs and things like that. And then you folks are in a different setting. And so the committee members would come forward and represent what they're hearing from the community and then help us tailor and adjust, the policing service to make sure we're meeting the need of the community. And I honestly think that happened early on. Like there was just little things that we'd say, traffic was always a big concern and that feedback was given. The way I look at it now is we're almost 10 years on. The police are providing an excellent job. It is very much hands-on. And truly, this committee has turned into a committee that just receives reports. So are you still achieving that vision? Or, now when a person more likely go and complain to a counselor, and, an alternative model is to think of the police coming on a quarterly basis, like some of our, our Ontario Clean Water Agency comes quarterly, reports into council and says, here's what we're doing, here's our issues, here's what you need to know about. And so is that a different model that might work for instead of having CPAC? But ultimately, that's the type of things we want you to think about, because you have your own perspective as committee members and we have our perspective as staff, and we want to share those ideas and thoughts with the new mayor, and we hope the new council can decide which of our advisory committees, because you're not, I'll also share, you're not alone. What we're finding with all of our advisory committees is we, as an organization, we've been really lucky. We've had a lot of stability over the last 10 years. And I'm not saying it's just because of me, but I've been here for 10 years. The mayor's been here for 10 years. So that's a consistent voice at council. We've had a lot of councilors who are like Marg, who's seasoned. And now has been here for a number of years. And my senior staff are all seasoned. So we have plenty of master plans, plenty of action plans, plenty of strategies. So we're just kind of chugging along and doing a really good job. And we're getting work done where in the past, we would need to delegate that work to the committees, but because we have such a mature, robust system, where we find as staff, it's hard for us to find things to bring to our committees, because we say, well, normally we would have brought this to you because it was kind of nebulous and we didn't have direction, but because we've been here so long, now we have this policy, that plan, and this strategy for when that happens. We don't really need to ask the committee that question anymore. I know, Green Committee, their members have felt the same way, that they feel that there's not a lot of work left for them. The rec committees felt the same thing, that there's not a lot of work left for them because staff just know how to do it. So we want citizen engagement, but our traditional way of doing it might not just be working anymore through committee system. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's the hallmark of a mature organization right now. So
Yeah, because I think at the beginning, we were talking a lot about Project Zero. Project Zero, we
Yeah.
were talking about the stop signs and the
Yeah.
problems with the traffic through town, which seem to have been resolved wonderfully. The biggest deal is taking down that tree. Hell,
Yeah.
that's my claim to fame is what we have, but I agree with you, like, it seems like
Well, and that's
Yeah.
again a perfect example where traffic was at the forefront, and then we were challenged to develop, Vision Zero, which didn't fully meet the needs, or probably wasn't realistic in a small town. But now we have a road network safety plan, so that anytime
Yeah.
an issue comes up, we, staff have this robust process they go through to analyze traffic safety and engineering standards, and then they just make the change. And then we've got this, mature process where we collect all sorts of data, we send it off to the police. And the police analyze it and say, okay, this is now a place for enforcement based on the data you're providing to us. I'm not looking at it as committees were ineffective. I'm saying committees were effective at pushing to put systems, more strong and formal systems in place. But now that those formal systems are in place, it means that we're trying to find things to bring here, and it just doesn't always occur. And if I'm not bringing things to the policing committee, again, I think that's a good thing of a safe community, right?
And it'll be interesting to see what happens with this latest consultation that we've all been involved in about the future of the Stratford Police Department. I'd be interested to see what comes out of that.
Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of like a little snapshot of what I think Jenna wants to walk you through at your next meeting, or your final meeting.
So that's the May meeting?
That'll be your May meeting. So just think about it when you're, when you're in your board or laying awake at night, just think about, well, what recommendations would I make for CPAC?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, if I could share, is that in policing, we always want to be arm's length from council. So we want to make sure that council, the public perception isn't that council is dictating the operations of the police service.
Right.
And as long as you have somebody in the chief or deputy position that is going to say, hold on, that is operations, you can't go there, then reporting to council could fit as a model. My preference isn't to do that, because elected politicians have other responsibilities and other priorities than this committee does. And one of those priorities is to get reelected, and we have to be careful about councilors getting too far into the weeds on policing issues. So that's why boards exist. That's why CPACs exist. There's council members at the table, but there is not the ability to get into the weeds and into operations.
Any comments? So I will ask for adjournment, that this meeting be adjourned at 9:49 a.m. Mr. Winter. One seconder? Right.
St. Mary's